Hi everyone, we're at Indo Pacific 2023 in Sydney, Australia, and this afternoon I'm meeting with John Fry, the Managing Director of Kongsberg Australia. John, good afternoon.
Hi Xavier, how are you going?
I'm great, thank you. Since we met last year, what's the latest with the NSM program here in Australia?
Right, yeah, I think the last time we chatted was the last Indo Pacific back in May last year. So it's been a very busy 18 months for Kongsberg in Australia on the NSM program. I'm pleased to say it's progressing very well. We got into contract with the Commonwealth at the end of last year, just before Christmas, and we're on track to commence deliveries of NSM in 2024 on both the Anzac frigates and the Hobart class destroyers. So far so good. We're on schedule.
I've been seeing at this trade show this year a lot of new models featuring a lot of NSM launchers. That's in relation to the Tier 1 and Tier 2 vessel as part of the DSR. What can you share us about this?
Yeah, I think, so as you're probably aware, in the last 12 months we've had a big Defence Strategic Review. One of the outcomes of that review was to do a more deep dive into the force structure of our surface fleet. So it's interesting to see what comes out of that. That hasn't been released yet and will happen early in the new year. But there's obviously been talk about what we're doing with the Hunter frigates in terms of numbers, potential corvettes, OPVs, and other surface combatants. So obviously from our perspective, NSM's a great weapon, being deck launched and being quite lightweight and fairly small factor. It's pretty flexible to fit on most platforms. So we're hoping to get a bit more direction in the new year on which way, whether there's more opportunities for NSM on additional platforms with the Navy. But I'm hopeful. We'll see how we go. Yeah.
All right. What about land-based maritime strike?
Yeah. So another outcome of the DSR was the fact that there was a recommendation to accelerate and expand land-based maritime strike. That requirement for the ADF. We've obviously been, pitching the Strike Master launcher as part of an NSM coastal defence system. As you're aware, NSM coastal defence system's fielded in Poland, and obviously another extension to that contract has just been announced. We think it's a great opportunity, or great option to do something quite quickly. Obviously uses the same NSM that's on the ship, and as part of that whole architecture, it also uses the same fire control architecture as what NASAMS uses as well. So as you're aware that Kongsberg Defence Australia and Kongsberg Defence and Aerospace and Raytheon Australia have been delivering NASAMS to Army, and we're actually been producing the FDCs here locally. So with that existing production line of FDCs, obviously NSM in service, and we think that's an opportunity to bring a capability into service quite quickly with Army if they wanted to go down that path. Yeah. I think the other thing to add to is we are doing a lot of also additional work in country on the NSM program now. So we are doing obviously launch and ramp production, and we're doing ship installed equipment production, and we're also building launches for NSMs as well. So all of that local content that we are generating and local capability, I think, can be applied very well for that requirement as well.
And John, as you mentioned, like local production here in Australia, could we see one day an assembly line for NSM here in Australia?
I think it's possible. We've been fairly forward-leaning as a company to the Commonwealth. Obviously, the establishment of a guided weapons explosive ordnance enterprise in Australia is a priority for the Australian government. And again, we think there's an opportunity with NSM and hopefully maybe in the future with JSM as well, if the Commonwealth wants to go down that path as well. So yeah, I think there's an opportunity, and again, as I mentioned, the DSR, if we decide to put NSMs on lots of different platforms and we go down the land-based maritime strike path, then I think we will generate a volume of weapons that does make that a highly viable and sustainable activity. So let's see what happens, and some decisions to be made in the next 12 months.
All right, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Xavier. Cheers.